Please give a warm welcome to Suha Imran Motin.
Ooh, these nerves. Not you guys, me. Okay. Well, the reason I bring that up is because this is a very familiar feeling. I remember standing in front of my class as a first-year medical student, white coat buttoned, stethoscope around my neck, surrounded by prospective doctors. I recall feeling like I'm included amongst the healthcare of America, the future, right? But the distinct discomfort of being an imposter overcame me. Inescapably, I thought, how did I get here? I don't belong here. Not because I wasn't intelligent enough, not because I didn't put forth the immense effort and sacrifice needed to be here. I pulled the same all-nighters, attended the same rigorous study sessions, and went through the same grueling routines. Rather, it was because despite my accomplishments, I lacked the vital information of how to carry the weight of being a first-generation student, a female, and the eldest daughter of immigrants. I was surrounded by people who did not have such challenges or carry such a unique and heavy weight. This was completely new ground for me, and I had never really learned to traverse it. I didn't really realize the effect of the burden I carried until I really began to feel its weight standing in that room. The trepidation of that moment marked the unveiling to me of what is the accidental curriculum. These are unwritten lessons that are etched upon ourselves through the pen of expectation and experience. They're words shaped by cultural norms and parental dreams, the ones that teach you that belonging isn't granted. Rather, it's something that one must claim for themselves. This accidental curriculum, though unseen, is powerful. Though unwritten, its voices are deafening. Its echoes are pervasive. And just like currents erode the landscape, these echoes can eat away at our self-worth. These echoes don't just exist in textbooks or in clinic or in hospital rooms. Rather, they journey with us from our childhood bedrooms, our family dinner tables, and sometimes drown out our internal voice. Growing up, I lived in two worlds. At home, Urdu on the tongue, chai on the stove, and a quiet kind of strength in every corner. At school, big words, fast answers, and never-ending skills labs, all accompanied by the constant pressure to prove myself in every arena. I learned how to code switch like it was survival. Like, literally, I picked up computer science as a minor in undergrad. But at some point, switching codes felt easier than switching majors. And it was less challenging to navigate a machine than to power through the complexities of life. But underneath all of that switching was this constant tension. What is my identity when I am the only one validating it? How does that differ from the girl so desirous of acceptance and belonging from all of those around her? In some cultures, resting feels like laziness and betrayal, while speaking up for what's true can feel like disrespect. In these traditions which prize constant self-sacrifice, asking for help becomes a sign of weakness. So we survive by pretending we're okay, even when we're not. Partially because we don't even know what truly being okay means anymore. Partially because we see survival as actually living. However, we don't realize that strength without steadfastness and resilience is actually another form of burnout. It's not strength to keep going without taking care of ourselves. It's betrayal. You know, as a young girl, I was always told and taught to be grateful, but never bold. To be good, but never too loud. And to always achieve, but to never ask, at what cost? I had to unlearn that vulnerability is weakness. I had to unlearn that silence is strength. I had to unlearn that being selfless meant becoming invisible and deaf to our own needs. Like many of my colleagues, I faced academic setback. I've questioned whether I deserve to be in medicine, whether I can ever be qualified to be entrusted with a human life. I've cried silently in bathrooms and in lecture halls. However, the echoes of expectation would always force me to wipe my face and walk out like nothing has ever happened. So, aspiring to a profession that focuses on the healing of others, I would soon learn to consider whether there was something within me that needed to heal. You know, I remember sitting in the back of an anatomy lab after failing my first exam, textbook open, tears pouring. A friend approached and said, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, just tired." And that's what we all say. But what we really mean is, I'm unraveling, and no one can know, because unraveling implies weakness. It indicates that I can't carry the burden of all whose dreams rest on my shoulders. Reminiscing, I always think about my father. My dad came to this country with next to nothing. No roadmaps, no connections, just grit and a dream that his daughter would have more than he ever did. He worked long hours and difficult jobs so that I could chase opportunities for which he could not even dream. And I take a moment to remember his sacrifice. But within an echo, I carry this form of guilt. More than guilt, it's the weight of expectation that was almost too much to bear. I mean, how do you tell the man who gave up everything for your dreams that you struggle or don't have the strength or the tenacity to carry them forward? And at times you don't have the stamina to bring those dreams to fruition, even though those dreams are yours as well. Sometimes the price of reaching the pinnacle is the very stability of your own life. But you continue because you aspire to heal others and make lives better. Medicine is such a noble profession. Its pursuit such an exercise in rigor. But we must not lose ourselves in this process. And so when my father sees me, he sees a daughter who succeeded and made it into medical school. This is the epitome of success in my cultural community. I don't allow others to see the cracks this journey has brought out in me, or how hard I'm trying to hold myself from fracturing completely. Perhaps this is why individuals don't understand my grief over an exam, over my constant feeling of being an imposter. While I did make it into medical school, I couldn't accept this accomplishment with ease due to these accidental echoes. I questioned deep within myself, do I truly deserve to be here? I like to say being born the eldest daughter in a South Asian household is like being born with a checklist. Get good grades, help your siblings, don't talk back, oh, and do it all with a smile. Don't embarrass the family either, right? But when you carry everyone else's expectations, there's no space left for your own. So when I started falling apart in school, I didn't know who I was disappointing more. My educators, my family, or my community. I never once considered whether my own self figured into this equation. I remember once thinking, if I fail, it's not just me failing. It's my family. It's my 8-year-old sister, my whole community, my friends. But as silly as that sounds, that's how heavy it can feel sometimes. The weight of communal identity and obligation. And I love my family because my dad would always look at me and say, "Don't worry about it, you always do great." But at some point, that's when I realized we weren't speaking the same language. He saw an accomplished student, a future doctor, all while I felt like a fraud. I remember once I called my mother after getting my first publication. I thought she'd be thrilled. I expected a cheers, let's celebrate. Instead, she paused the conversation and she goes, yeah, Suha, that's great, but did you eat? I'm like, I love her for that, I really do. But in that moment, my monumental accomplishment felt greatly diminished. And it's not that she didn't care. It's that we were living in two different worlds. I was trying to prove that I belonged, while she was trying to make sure her kids survived. Having never gone through academia in the States, she didn't understand the mountain that I had surmounted. But even now, years later, I still catch myself playing by these hidden rules, this accidental curriculum, which is instilled within us all, persisting, evolving, day by day, without us even realizing it. Like the time I hesitated before answering a question during rounds because I didn't want to sound too confident. Or the way I softened my opinion in a group project just to keep the peace. Or my personal favorite, when my professor mispronounced my 2-syllable name, again, but I let it slide, again, because correcting them felt like attention would be drawn to me, or perhaps it would be viewed as disrespect. And that's how sneaky these insidious echoes are. Right when you think you finally silenced them, they once more emerge louder than before. They ricochet off the walls of your mind and force you to shrink into yourself. So this accidental curriculum doesn't come from authority. It comes from within. The voice that says, don't be visible, don't stand out. Do not make this about you. But the truth is, if we don't claim space, someone else will claim space for you. They will decide where we can step. Someone else will determine our boundaries and define our glass ceilings. And that's not just a personal loss. It's a loss for every future student who looks like us and is still waiting for the permission to be seen. I've met classmates from all walks of life who carry their own echoes. The girl whose parents told her being a PA was good enough, but she wanted more. The first-generation Latino student in my biochem group who kept his MCAT score a secret because it wasn't impressive enough. Or the fellow medical student who sat silently through a lecture as their diagnosis was reduced to a few bullets on a slide. Different stories, same fear of not fitting the mold, of being seen as other. Same silence, same insecurities, same imposter syndrome. I'm not enough. I don't deserve this. Do I really belong here? That's when the realization dawned on me, and I understood. The most dangerous part of the accidental curriculum is that it convinces us that we're the only ones struggling, when in reality, we're all quietly trying to survive similar internal noises. The pitch of the echoes may be different. They may exist in different languages. but they leave the same scars upon our confidence. But here's the truth. No one's here to be perfect. We're all here to be honest, because that's what frees others to be authentic to themselves. Silence, though weightless, has a heavy cost. It may shield you from censor, but it also disconnects you. It wears away the bonds that you have within yourself, with others, and even your own happiness. And that's the accidental curriculum. Learn, achieve, but above all, don't break. But something changed and something broke. And it wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quite small. One day, I was tutoring a high school student for her AP English exam. And we were discussing The Bluest Eye and The Namesake. Two stories about voice, invisibility, and the tension between who we are and what the world wants us to be. And as she scribbled down notes, she abruptly puts her pencil down and says, "I didn't know other people felt this way. I always thought I was the only one." Are we allowed to say these things? I think you helped me see it. And in that moment, she wasn't talking to me. She was echoing something I once needed to hear too. It cracked something open. I understood that my story isn't just mine. It's an echo of every girl who's been told, be grateful, be quiet, be perfect. But for the first time, I was ready to echo something back. The permission to be real. So as many of my close friends can attest to, I have a private story labeled on my Snapchat, Suha Struggling, TED Talk. And it started as a very funny way to rant and catch up with my friends. Little did I know that years later, thank you for coming to my TED Talk would turn into my reality. Since then, I've leaned in and learned to draw out the echoes. I've published several papers. I'm writing a book. I coached an all-girls volleyball team and a basketball team that made it to regionals. I was featured on ABC 7 News. Yes, did all that in hijab. Because showing up for yourself while being authentic matters. I am honored to represent every tradition that has shaped me. Recently, a patient had requested me again to be a part of her healthcare team. "You remind me of my daughter," she said. And it was then I realized I had become what I most needed to be. Not perfect, but visible, present, soft, and strong. And so now I speak up about imposter syndrome, about cultural clash, about academic struggle. Not because I have all the answers, but because I know what it feels like to think like you're the only one with all these burning questions. I know how lonely it can feel when you see your own struggles as only your own. And so contrary to what the accidental curriculum may preach, what no one tells daughters like me is that we must learn to carry our nuances ourselves. So if there's one thing I want you to carry with you, it's your authentic voice. The one shaped by where you come from, and what you believe, and who you are. Because it matters. You don't have to trade it in to belong here. I am not here because my parents worked hard, but because they dreamed harder. My dad never sat in a lecture hall, but he gave me the courage to walk into one. My mother never saw a publication with her name on it, but she taught me to keep going when no one was clapping. I am not here despite them. I am here because of them. And every time I speak up, every time I show up as my full self, in hijab, in medicine, on the basketball court, in rooms not built for girls like me, I'm living proof that their struggle meant something, despite carrying the weight of two very different traditions. It's not just academic accolades. It's impact. It's a legacy. It's paving the path to open the door for all future young paraprofessionals who struggle with the echoes from their childhood, but seek to find their authentic voice and live their authentic dreams. And so on that note, as I would say to my usual 7 TED Talk viewers on Snap, thank you for coming to my TED Talk.